Supreme Court orders old Naira notes to coexist with new ones till 31st December 2023. Nigeria's trade balance declined to 20 million from 50 million. Dollar hit for first weekly loss in 5 as Bitcoin investors suffer worst losses since August. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. Good to have you join us. We'll start by telling you that the Supreme Court has ordered that the old Naira notes of 200, 500 and 1,000 shall coexist with the new Naira notes as legal tender till 31st December 2023. The 7-man panel of the court, in a unanimous decision delivered by Justice Emmanuel Ajim, declared the directive of the Central Bank of Nigeria on the matter as a nullity. The court dismissed all the preliminary objections raised by the Attorney General of the Federation. The suit was filed by 12 state governors. And governors on the Naira note say some governors who were in court to witness the judgment this Friday prayed the Apex Court to void and set aside the policy on the ground that it is inflicting hardship on innocent Nigerians.
We are very grateful to the court for its unanimous decision and the orders it has given to the federal government of Nigeria to ensure that from today till the 31st of December 2023, the old Naira notes of all denominations shall continue to circulate side by side with the new Naira notes.
We appreciate God and we appreciate the Supreme Court justices. They have proven that this is the place and the hope of all men, not just common man. Men and women across this federation
have been challenging us that because we have huge amount of money that we put in our houses, that's why we come to court. But you know it is not true, because like myself, I challenge EFCC that they should go to any of my property and boggle it and take any money that they have seen in my houses.
Modest gains in oil production was unable to lift Nigeria's trade balance as the country's balance of trade position has reversed from surplus to deficit. Figures from the Central Bank of Nigeria shows that the country recorded a $200 million trade deficit in November 2022 as against a surplus of $50 million in the previous month. The CBN said the deficit was as a result of low crude oil export receipts during the period. The Apex Bank also said that crude oil and gas export receipts declined month on month by 9.3% to $3.9 billion in November 2022 from $4.3 billion in October 2022. Merchandise import declined by 6.2% to $4.35 billion from $4.64 billion in October. Crude oil and gas export receipts declined to $3.90 billion from $4.30 billion in October. No doubt, Nigeria is faced with mounting economic challenges with many citizens in poor economic situation. Nigerians are, however, expectant. Now I have with me in the studio Alhaji Mohammed Kudu Ibrahim. He is the president CEO. He's the president CEO Niger Valley Resources Limited and member Arewa Economic Renewal Forum. Together, we'll be going to set the agenda for the expected new government. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start from the Supreme Court. That's what is breaking. That's what is out there. The Supreme Court says it's not just the 200 naira note, but plus the 500 and the 1,000 should coexist with the new naira note till the 31st of December this year. What does that pertain? What's your view on that? What does that pertain for the economy?
Well, I think in holistic terms, it's a wonderful development. I mean, the Supreme Court judgment, because you can only imagine the relief it will bring to millions of Nigerians, particularly those that reside in the rural areas of the country. Like every other policy, is not entirely a bad one. I think what we have to question this time, what many Nigerians, have questioned, is the timing, and the method of implementation. I know for certain that the central bank had, or rather has, a financial inclusion strategy, in place. It has, I think it did a survey between 2008 and 2010, and discovered that about 53% of adult Nigerians were, financially excluded. So I think one of the objectives of this CBN policy was, of course,
the financial inclusion, to reduce such a number.
Exactly, and I think the target was that by 2020 it should have been reduced to about 20%. I mean, of adult Nigerians that have been financially excluded. But for the life of me, this is the wrong way of going about it, especially since it has obviously been you just played a clip about the reaction of the northern governors. It has been, misinterpreted. The motives have been, questioned, and I think that's.
But again, another part again is that what some other Nigerians are saying. People are already getting adjusted to this. Should we go back there again?
Nobody is saying they should go back, but there should be some form of moderation, okay, that will take into cognizance the tremendous suffering this has brought. We're here. We're in the rural. We're in the urban centers. Just think about what those in the rural areas, who have never even heard about a bank before or something like that, just think about they don't have cash in their hands. So how do they survive? So that has to be factored in. So that's why I say I began this discourse with the position that it's of tremendous relief that the Supreme Court has taken this
for the majority of Nigerians, for the interest of Nigerians, from what you said.
Because again, let me add this: this government is going to come in. I doubt if it's even going to have a honeymoon period. So by the time
they have to hit the ground running.
You will need tremendous goodwill of Nigerians to be able to be effective. That's my position.
Okay, talking about goodwill and what is expected of the new government, the outgoing government has done a lot in the last 8 years. One of the areas the government concentrated on was the area of reforms for good governance, then investment in infrastructure. Now that we have another government coming in, what other areas do you think they should build upon or look to stepping up?
Now, let me put it this way. You see, the economic space does not exist in a vacuum. So any government, anywhere in this world that is coming into power must have to take into consideration that fact. Must have to take into consideration the social nuances, the social condition of the people on which whatever policy they bring into play is supposed to be implemented. Right now, what do we have in this country? We have massive frustration, youth frustration. Nigerians are tripping out, skilled Nigerians are tripping out. They have lost hope. That's why there's so much to cheer in the logo being by the renewed hope. We first and foremost need to renew hope, in this country, to stop people from, what's the term again? Japaing, what they call Japa or whatever. You see, and it is going to, coming to terms with those realities, should be the condition on which any economic policy is developed and implemented.
But ironically, sorry to pause your thoughts at this point. Ironically, yes, we have young Nigerians that are leaving the country to seek greener pastures out there. As we're having Nigerians going out, we're also having foreigners coming in, seeing Nigeria as green area, seeing Nigeria as potential destination for a whole lot. What is that thing that we are missing that is making us want to really go out, particularly the youth?
Yeah, ordinarily, you just put your finger on it. I started with the idea of coming to terms with the social conditions in the country. You know, we're looking at insecurity, we're looking at poverty, endemic poverty, we're looking at unemployment. Okay? Now, those are the push factors. Those are the very reasons why most Nigerians are trooping out.
But to a large extent, it's a global issue.
Yeah, it's a global issue. And that is why, you know, you also see multinationals and some of them trying to come in, you know, because they have this, you know, they recognize the fact that Nigeria is a nation of over maybe close to 200 million people. So it's a massive
great market space.
It's a massive market. But now, let me tell you, the government, any government will have to recognize that. I will have to renew the hope of Nigerians. We'll have to rekindle hope. And how do you do that? It's through the totality. How do you improve security? It's through the totality of kinetic and non-kinetic measures. You see? So whatever economic policies that come into play must recognize those non-kinetic measures. You know, there's a linkage. You understand what I'm saying? There's a linkage. If you provide jobs, okay, you are taking people off the streets. Why do you think that you have all these young youths, whenever there's fuel crisis, you see them, so all of a sudden, they emerge on the streets with jerry cans trying to sell fuel or something like that, you know, in the black market and all that. As a young man, I grew up, you know, to the sound of all these cotton ginneries across the north. What does that tell you? It tells you that there was a certain time that in this country that cash crops, like cotton and all that, were a big thing here. You had marketing boards, okay? And what does that tell you again? That tells you that agriculture can be developed across its entire
longer value chain.
Its entire value chain.
Yeah.
So when you do that, that's why I mentioned the non-kinetic measures. You know, that understanding the social conditions we live in. Okay? Before anything can be done. Before anything, they have to recognize that. What is it? And while we're about this, I also need to mention the fact that the National Orientation Agency has a lot of work to do. I'm telling you, the incoming government, you know, should try and see how they can empower that agency. And why? Because we need to change the orientation. The hopeless orientation, that orientation of hopelessness, you know, the lack of belief in the country. And it comes with, you know, it should come, you know, the National Orientation Agency should be empowered, okay, to educate Nigerians, to see hope in this country.
I really want to agree with you in the sense that the root causes of all of this needs to be tackled, because I also understand that I know for sure that so much has been invested into the agricultural value chain. We're talking about the anchor borrowers. It started from rice, it moved to maize, it moved to the cotton we're talking about, and all of that. Yes, we've had a lot of impact in that, but it seems more needs to be done. It's not just enough getting to put these funds, gets to build capacity. What is that finishing touch that is needed?
You're walking straight into that proverbial cul-de-sac that Nigeria presently fights itself in. Do you remember Diffrey?
Back in the days. Sure.
Back in the days, okay. The objectives were very clear. Opening up the rural areas, okay, for the rural farmers, okay, to bring their produce to the markets. You see, again, what we keep suffering from is poor, just with this naira policy or whatever, is poor implementation. That is what we have to deal with. Whatever policy you bring into play, whatever short of that, we have brilliant minds that can develop so many brilliant policies. The major albatross remains poor implementation. So you see, right now what the government needs to do, okay, is to strengthen, you know, the agricultural sector. You understand? Invest in manufacturing, you know, industries, you know, you understand, all that, you know, empower, bring about measures that can lead to the proliferation of all those, you know, the manufacturing sector and all that. It seems to me, and that's why I mentioned national orientation. It seems so embarrassing to me that, you know, 60 years after our independence, we still have people, we still have laws, okay, that not only encourage, you know, but permits people to bring in used underwear into this country. Now that is a national shame and embarrassment. Okay. Just imagine bringing in used clothes, apart from the health hazards, So what happened to our textile industries? What happened to them? They are all dead. Most of them around Kaduna are all dead. Something led to their demise. A deliberate policy of government, poorly conceived, led to their demise that encouraged, foreign imports to the detriment of our local textile industries. Those are the areas the government needs to look into with great urgency.
Earlier on, you talk about poor implementation of some programs and policies has led to us not achieving the maximum benefit or the maximum advantages some of these policies are meant to achieve. One of it has been cutting cost of governance. Do you think is something this new government needs to look into? And when you talk about diversification of the nation's economy, people will tell you we need money to do a lot of things. And the banks are not borrowing at single-digit interest rate, except the CBN and other agencies of the central bank, which the government actually used to do some moratorium, courtesy COVID-19. But is it something we should enjoy beyond the recovery process as put together by government and its agencies?
Of course. And when it comes to the topic of cutting the cost of governance in this country, I have my own ideas. It shouldn't just start with reducing the number of federal agencies, putting them down, merging some and all that. No, I think the bigger cost saving can be made. When we take a second look at our bicameral legislature. In the 1979, when we adopted the presidential system of governance, the Naira was very stable, was superior to the American dollar. The economy could sustain the bicameral legislature. I doubt if the same can be done now. So it should start from the National Assembly, which in my view should even be made part-time to save costs. That's where most of the, because let me tell you, at the National Assembly, with the bicameral legislature, with all the billions that goes into maintaining less than maybe 3,000, less than 4,000 Nigerians, all the just to keep them there, most of them end up not doing the critical oversight function doesn't get done in many instances. We have had also reports of collusion between those that are supposed to be doing the oversight and the agencies involved. You understand what I'm saying, eh? That they are, supposed to, look into. So it's a double whammy. We are spending so much money, okay, maintaining a bicameral legislature, and then the critical oversight function doesn't get done because of that collusion. So what does that tell you?
Sir Mohammed Kudu Ibrahim, your suggestion is well taken. It's something a lot of Nigerians have advocated, but getting to implement it, like you said earlier on, has been the bane. But well, it's a conversation we're going to continue. Thank you so very much for sharing your thoughts with us at this particular time. I see you want to say more, but for want of time, we'll get to continue this discussion some other time.
Thank you very much.
Well, moving on, oil prices fell on Friday, but were poised to register a weekly gain as renewed optimism on China's demand recovery overrode recession worries, overgrowing U.S. crude inventories, and tightening monetary policy in Europe. Brent crude futures dipped 45 cents to $84.31 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were down by 35 cents at $77.80. Let's now see the prices of other commodities. Ahead of April's World Bank IMF spring meetings, the IMF has endorsed the G20 countries' efforts to strengthen the debt architecture and advocates speedy and effective debt resolution.
For Chad, we have a positive outcome. For Zambia, there is still work to be done, and I want to use this conversation to urge a completion of that restructuring and a memorandum of understanding for Zambia as soon as possible. The country has done an amazing job reforming the economy. They deserve that restructuring, and this global sovereign debt roundtable is so important to create space finally for everybody to sit together, including the debtor countries, including hearing their voice, so we can resolve the problems that have been obstacles for more effective debt resolution.
And now the US dollar eased versus the yen on Friday and looked set for its first weekly loss since January against major peers. Let's see the official exchange rate of the naira to other currencies. Nigerian equities declined Friday to end the week weaker as investors' sentiments declined. The all-share index dropped marginally to 55,529.21 basis points as traders exchanged hands in 3,962 deals of 750 million equities. Value of trade closed the session at 2.662 billion naira, while equity capitalization stood at 30.249 trillion naira. And now a quick look at the global market updates with Neka Oko.
Hello and welcome to the Global Market Review. European stocks rose this Friday along with global stocks as investors took comfort in underlying economic strength and started March on a high note. The DAX in Germany climbed 0.87%, UK's FTSE gained 0.38%, and the French CAC was up 0.61%. U.S. stock futures were slightly higher in early trade as investors pondered the Federal Reserve's rate hiking path in light of fresh commentary from central bank speakers. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 11 points, S&P 500 was marginally positive, and Nasdaq 100 was up 0.14%. In Asia, stocks mostly rose. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index was up 0.68%, while the Shanghai Composite climbed 0.54%, and the Nikkei 225 advanced 1.56% to lead gains in the region. And back in Africa, Kenya's Nairobi oil share was muted this Friday after Kenya's private sector activity was said to have contracted in February, weighed down by a steep weakening of the shilling, inflationary pressure on consumer spending, and growing tax burdens for firms, according to a survey released this Friday. Other stocks on the continent ticked up, led by South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40, which rose 0.9%, while Tunisia was marginally negative. And that's Global Market Review. I am Neka Oko.
Thank you, Neka. That wraps Business Express for the week. Remember to send in your comments, observations, and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on NTA's channel. Join us next week for another edition.